one of the leaders in this space, one of the most successful online course creators, one of the innovators in this industry, Amy Porterfield, has said it: online courses are dead. For her, kind of. Kind of. I want to dig into her latest podcast episode that talks all about the online course industry and how it's changing, the changes that she's making to her offers. I want to talk about pivoting, all the things in today's episode. I woke up this morning, went to Pilates, and saw this Threads post right before I walked in. It says, "So now that Amy Porterfield has announced the end of the courses industry, is everyone switching to live implementation support now? I believe clients learn better when they get to actually do the thing rather than just learn about the thing." And I was like a little bit shocked. I was like, okay, I've got to listen to this episode because this is sort of news to me. Now, I have been saying this for the past probably year, 2 years, that the online course industry is changing. My online course sales have fluctuated, they have changed. I have had to make pivots, adjustments, and rethink things. But to hear that one of the, pioneers in this space is saying that they're over, that took me by surprise. So I listened to the whole episode. I definitely recommend it, by the way, if you are just thinking about any type of pivot in your business. So I will link it down below. And I also want to be honest here and just say that Amy Porterfield is the reason I started a podcast. She is the person who encouraged me to, without her knowing, I've never had a conversation with her, but inspired me to create my first course. I've never taken any of her paid programs, but I binged all of her podcasts when I was still working my corporate job. So I have a lot to thank her for. And I want to recognize her as an industry leader and somebody who knows what she's talking about, right? I mean, she's made, I think she said in her podcast, over $54 million from her courses, if I'm not mistaken. But I think perhaps this is sort of the first point that I want to address. I just crossed the $1 million threshold on my course platform, which I'm very proud of. I'm very grateful for, and is no small feat. And I think does qualify me to speak to this with a bit of authority, if you will. But at the same time, I think that my business decisions and Amy Porterfield's business decisions are very different. And that's the first and I think most important thing for all of us to know. I saw this post, which sort of supported the point that I'm going in. So if you've been using the public facing decisions that Amy Porterfield, Jenna Kutcher, and other 8 to 9 figure online business owners make as a blueprint for running your less than $500,000 a year business, you should stop that. You don't need to close your course or abandon your podcast. These women are not playing the same game as you. You should not be copying them. And I would even say that number can be bigger than 500,000. I think even if you're making $1 million or $2 million a year, you're in a different category than Amy Porterfield or Jenna Kutcher. I don't even know what the Jenna Kutcher thing is about. I guess she's quitting her podcast. Okay, we need to know our numbers, our own individual unique numbers. Look at your P&L, your profit and loss sheet. If you don't know what that is, if you don't have one, give your accountant a call and ask for it. Go through QuickBooks and find your profit and loss statement. It is going to itemize, or it should, if it's, doing what it needs to be doing, it's going to itemize your sales for the last year. And it will break down what you made from courses, what you made from any other revenue stream that you have, brand sponsorships, one-on-one coaching, one-on-one service offerings, whatever. And you will be able to see what you did last year. And hopefully, if you've been in business for a while, you'll be able to see historical data for the past few years as well. I talked about what's on my profit and loss statement in a recent episode, which I will link for you if you want to kind of see how my breakdown worked. But long story short, I mean, online courses are still a significant part of my income. And what's really helpful about knowing your own unique numbers is I can not only see that online courses are still significant, but also what types of online courses are significant. And I'm going to dive into that in a second. Stay tuned. But I think this is really important to do what's working for you. I have friends in this industry who are still making just as much money as I am from like PDFs, from ebooks, from self-paced evergreen courses. I don't know how, because for me, my evergreen stuff has tanked. But for them, they're still growing, they're still crushing it. And so to them, I would say keep doing what you're doing, right? I think there are so many reasons for that we could dive into. And I think honestly, one of the reasons is when I think about my friends who are doing well with the Evergreen, like self-paced course guide type things, they started later than I did. And therefore, I think a lot of their audiences are a little bit newer to this industry than mine is. My audience, you guys are doing a thing. A lot of you have been doing it for quite a long time. You have been long-term listeners. I'm so grateful for you. But you all have evolved past the point of needing like a template kit or quick 30-minute like set of videos. Not to say all, of course, there are always beginners and people who just want a quick brush up and this and that. But like for the most part, my core audience who has stuck with me, you guys are advanced. Whereas some of my friends who are just starting, they're still talking to people who are newer and that kind of thing. So know your own unique business, know your audience, know your numbers before you say, oh my gosh, like it's time to pivot and quit my plans for an online course or stop selling something that is actually still making me a lot of money. And I want to share an example about why this kind of comparison to people who are so different from you is not the right thing to do. I don't recommend it. About a year ago, I announced that I was opening a physical in-person podcast studio, office space, and almost instantly, I got, hey, can you give us tips for this? Can you give advice on how to do this? I want to do this. I saw people who followed me closely, attempt to do or do the exact same thing. And I'm going to be honest with you from the day, first of all, I said no. I said, no, I'm not going to give advice on this. Because from the day that I signed that lease, from the day that I started touring office spaces, I knew that this would very likely not be a huge income generator, a huge revenue generator for me. I knew that this was a passion project. I knew that this was something I actually needed to do for my mental health. This time last year, I was kind of in a place where I would say I was bordering on like a mental health emergency where I needed to invest in certain things um, for my own well-being and for no other reason. My accountant probably is not thrilled that I rented that space. It was not necessarily the smartest financial decision. I did it because I needed to, and I did it because I was in the space where I had years and years of savings from my online courses, my service-based business, my brand partnerships that I was able to make that personal investment. Most of what I paid for my studio with, by the way, was personal money. I used my personal credit card to buy furniture, to buy equipment, things like that, because it was a passion project for me. And so I just say that to share that if you're looking at me and saying, oh my gosh, Latasha opened a content studio, that's what I need to do, that's where online business is going. No, I did this for me. Amy Porterfield, in her full episode, check it out again. She shares that one of the reasons she is closing down the doors to her course is because her heart, I'm paraphrasing, her heart really isn't in it anymore. She said she still made, I think, millions, multi-millions from her last launch. Okay. So know your numbers, know what's important to you, know what you need, and we can go from there. Now, the other thing that I think is important to talk about in this, and again, I owe a lot to Amy Porterfield. I think she's brilliant. I have a lot of respect for her. But I will say, I really don't want this to come across, mean in any way. I don't like a lot of the criticism, my foot's falling asleep, that we're seeing for especially women in the online business space from other women. I think it's a little nasty, but I have not listened to Amy Porterfield. I have not listened to Jenna Kutcher for the past several years because I don't relate to them anymore. And it's not even because they make a lot of money, because I still was listening to them when they were making a lot more money than me. But I think, for example, and I can't stress how much I want to say there's no shade involved in this, but this is just a personal opinion. Even listening to the podcast today, I'm pretty sure Amy Porterfield's podcast was scripted, and it just didn't, like, that's not where That's not the style of content that I am attracted to, and that I think a lot of people are attracted to these days. I think we've seen a huge shift, right, with TikTok, with Instagram Reels, um, really democratizing content, really making content a lot more casual. I spoke about this in a talk that I did recently with Metricool on the rise of comfort creators. There is a trust gap, right? A lot of consumers have felt, and I'm not saying this about Amy or Jenna specifically. Again, I haven't taken any of their courses, so I don't know the quality of them. But in the online business world in general, we've seen a lot of people overpromise, underdeliver. We've seen a lot of people be unhappy with their results, blah, 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 blah. And there's just this kind of trust gap now. And again, I think in the content world, over and over again, the content that the comments that I hear from my audience is, we like the laid back, casual, handheld content more than anything. People are just kind of tired of being shouted at or lectured or spoken at rather than with. And so this is just kind of the state of content, the state of online business. And I think it's important to know that maybe these people who were leaders in this space now are trailing behind in a little bit in terms of connection. And I truly think that in this trust recession, with this trust gap, whatever you want to call it, people are craving connection and authenticity more than anything. Like, people, like I said, they don't want to just be spoken at. They don't want to just watch something that somebody else claimed that they did, right? They want to really know why they should believe them. That's what this quote says. Today, consumers have grown savvier. They don't just want to know what influencers recommend, they want to know why they should believe them. So, trust really is the new currency in this online business space. And, you can't fake it. You really can't. I've seen, again, a lot of my peers, a lot of, bigger creators, a lot of, people in this space be like, oh, vlogging is it's the new way to connect with your audience. And I'm just like, you guys, I've been vlogging for 12 years on and off. This is not a ploy for me. This is not a ploy for me to like get followers. It is something that comes authentically from my heart and is a way that I've connected. And I'm so grateful that, we've shared that connection. For those of you who watch my YouTube channel, I don't think it can be like an online business like checklist thing. You have to figure out the way to uniquely share who you are as a human and connect with your audience. I don't know what that looks like for everybody, right? For me, I've always been rooted in like vlogging and this, authentic connection. For you, that might be something different. But Brandwatch has actually shared a list of 6 implications that this sort of trust gap is bringing about for brands in particular. Number 1, prioritize transparent business practices, especially regarding pricing and product capabilities. We could spend a whole hour talking about this in the online course space, but there's been a lot of non-transparency, for lack of better words, a lot of false scarcity, a lot of just weird, scammy things. You can also check out my episode that I did with Eva Collins for more on that if you're interested. Number 2, focus on creating stress-free customer experiences that make people feel valued. Huge, right? When you make a purchase, especially if it's a big purchase, $500, $1,000, $2,000, and so on and so forth, you want to feel like that you made the right decision and that the person is grateful for your purchase. Again, I think this goes into where this like celebrity level course creator might not be feeling it as much, for lack of better words. I am sure that Amy Porterfield gives an amazing customer experience. Actually, you know what? I don't know. Again, I have not taken her courses, but she seems like a lovely, lovely person. But I think people in rough economies, in just the day and age that we're in, they want to know that their dollars are going to support small businesses, that they are valued, that they're, when you're like, wow, you've made $20 million from this launch or whatever that might be, my little $500 is just a drop in the bucket. Meanwhile, if I'm working with a creator who's making 500,000, $100,000, $200,000 a year, I'm like, wow, like I am really valued. I am really helping her. We are really like, it creates a different type of connection. Number 3, respect consumers' digital boundaries and support well-being. Number 4, create advertising that offers value rather than interruption. Number 5, cultivate authentic influencer partnerships based on genuine brand alignment. And number 6, position AI as an enhancement to human experiences rather than a replacement. Okay, so I want to talk about the types of courses that have been selling for me. And this is a prediction that I made years ago. I'm actually going to share some slides that I gave literally years ago. I think like 2021. I delivered this for a Thinkific virtual event called Think in Color. And I like to say, I don't really know, but I feel like I was one of the sort of early adopters to cohort-based courses. And that's why Thinkific asked me to speak about it. And I still think that this is the way as of now. Cohorts, live experiences, I'll explain what this means in particular, are still selling for me, are still meaningful for me. My heart is still in them. There is still demand for them. And so if you are somebody who is seeing your course sales drop, and you're like, okay, I have this Evergreen course, I have this template pack, I have this video series, how do I revive it without having to like completely go back to the drawing board? Maybe this little mini presentation will inspire you a bit. So I'll tell you about cohort. I can't say R's, by the way. I have a speech impediment and R is very hard for me to say. So I hate this name. Cohort-based courses. Let's take a quick moment to thank today's sponsor, Metricool. Metricool is my all-in-one social media management platform, and it is a must-have tool for anyone who is serious about their online business, their marketing agency, their content creation, company, or really any type of business. Their free plan is amazing, but they also have a premium plan that has so many incredible features. With premium, you get all the benefits of a free plan, plus management of multiple brands, in-depth analysis of up to 1,000 competitors, customizable link pages for any of your social media bios, automated downloadable metric reports, team member roles and streamlined client approval workflows, and seamless asset management with Google Drive and Canva integrations. You can choose from a starter, advanced, or enterprise level plans. And with my code LATASHA, that's LATASHA, using the link in the show notes and description box, you can unlock 30 days free on any of those premium plans. Again, you can go back, you can use their free forever plan if you decide to once that 30 days is over, or you can stay on that premium plan. You probably will not regret it. It is my right-hand tool when it comes to social media management. So definitely check out Metricool, and huge thanks to them for sponsoring the Freelance Friday podcast. Really what they are, they're an interactive program taken by a group of students who learn and grow together. So as opposed to, hey, here's the keys, right? Here is the course, learn from it. They're guided through it. They're guided through it week by week, or they are joining a group where they can talk about it. Like there's lots of different ways that you can model it. And I'll share with you how I modeled my first round of the social media management accelerator. But yeah, that's in short, like what it is. Okay. The benefit for the student: community. You get different perspectives on this material. You get support from the group. Again, I think that people, they don't want to be shouted at. They don't want to be lectured per se. Yes, people who join my course join it partially for me because of the experience that I have, because of the companies that I've worked with, because of the years that I've spent in this industry. But they also don't look at me as like the end all be all. Like I don't position myself that way, or at least I certainly try not to. I want us to learn from each other. I'm always asking, in the chat, on the live calls, hey, does anybody have experience with this? I haven't encountered this issue. Have any of you? Can you jump on the mic and share your experience? I think that is like the valuable thing for people listening. And of course, for the people who share, it enables them to sort of step into their leadership and their authority as well. So, yeah, I think that is extremely helpful. I think it's extremely helpful for people to, wow, my foot is really falling asleep. I think it's extremely helpful for people to have a place to go when they have questions, when they're going through material and they're like, you know what, I just can't figure out how to apply this to my business, or my client is having an issue right now. You guys are all really smart people. Can anyone help me? That is very valuable. And I want to just say an aside again, if you're doing any comparison, which we've talked about why you probably shouldn't, even for me, this is an area that I am doubling down investing in, because at this point today, right now, this second, I know that I have work to do. I think I had a really tight community. I think I um, really set things up right. And I think it dropped off. I think it dropped off because actually the world changed. When I first launched this course, it was during the pandemic. And so people were so engaged because we had nothing else to do. And then, things opened up back up and the world got back to normal a little bit. And so, actually, one of the things that I'm doing this year is I'm hiring. Again, my accountant probably hates me. And again, I am doing this out of confidence in my investment because I have saved money. And I like, don't look at me and say, oh, Latasha's hiring an operations manager again this year. I should do that too, even though, I'm scraping, to get by. They're like, you can't compare people's journeys and where they're at and where they're ready to invest and where they're not and how much money, but there's so many different factors to that. But I'm doing interviews. Literally, I did them yesterday. I'm doing them tomorrow. And I am hoping to have somebody onboarded by the end of the month because this needs to be updated and improved for my cohorts that I run in 2026. By the way, this video is not meant to advertise the cohorts, but I do have two of them, and I will link the waitlist for them down below if you are interested. No pressure. I genuinely want this to be just helpful for you guys and your courses. Okay, number two, let me hurry it up here. Accountability, right? Live instruction times. One of the reasons that I created my first cohort is because I could see the completion rates of my courses and like nobody was completing them. I was giving hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of video content and nobody was getting to the end. And so I was like, okay, what if I deliver the most important videos or like the overarching concepts live, and then they can get these bonus videos that they can do at their own time or as they need or as they're interested in. But at least they're getting these like 5 foundational lessons delivered live via Zoom. I did assignments. I call them projects now because they don't necessarily have like a deadline these days. I changed that a little bit because that was just a lot of work for me to grade us 100 assignments every week. We had masterminds in the first version of the cohort so people could meet with other peers. And, so there's accountability. It's like, did you actually watch the lesson? Are you actually applying what you learned? And so on and so forth. And then there's access to the instructor, unlike self-paced courses. If you're just buying a course from me, again, it's like very transactional. It's very, you know, who is this person? Like, why am I listening to them? I don't one have the ability to ask questions, but two, it kind of feels, I think, to a lot of people, and again, you can agree with this or disagree with this. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I personally feel this way, but I think a lot of consumers almost feel like used by that. It's kind of like you don't even want to talk to me, but you want to take my money. You know what I mean? I think there is a bit of that energy. And so just by simply saying, hey guys, like I'm a normal person just like you, it doesn't even have to be about the material all the time. Like I talk to people about what you did for the holidays and like what you got going on this weekend in my live classes. And I think just that little bit of interaction and accessibility makes you more trustworthy and creates just a better learning environment and an environment where people are comfortable asking questions and comfortable, asking for your support and all of that. Now, obviously, for the instructor, there are benefits as well. Like it's more fun to teach. Okay. It's harder to teach because I have to schedule around lives and I have to actually be present. But I was actually getting really sort of sad with when I was having a lot of evergreen course sales. I had my first 5-figure course month based on a template pack called the Social Media Management Toolbox. And I realized, like, I don't know who any of these people are. I don't know. I see their names. See like their location, from their credit card data or whatever, like what country they're in. And that's it. That's all I know about these folks. And it's kind of sad because I want to see the transformations. I want to know if it's working. I want to celebrate your wins with you. And so cohorts allow you to do that and, allow you to gauge student needs. Like at the beginning of all my cohorts, I'm like, I do a little informal survey, like, who are you? What do you do? What do you want to learn? If they say they want to learn something that's not in the course materials, I can update it. Like, I can add to it. It's a living sort of document, so I can address those needs a lot better. The impact is palpable, right? If I think about like my most successful or my, you know, standout students, they're all a part of a cohort. I don't know very many people who I've made a very close relationship with who's just taken an Evergreen course. Because again, I don't know who most of them are. They don't self-report. They don't reach out to me and say, "Hey, this changed my life." Some people do, but very, very few. But I have made so many like friends that I met in real life. Again, cute, amazing case studies, gotten great testimonials from people who've taken cohorts, and there are people who like are long-lasting relationships. And price point, lastly, generally speaking, you can charge more for a cohort, right? Because it's not just here today, gone tomorrow. It is really, it's more of a service or a coaching program, in my opinion, than like just a course. Like, yes, we're using the curriculum. Yes, the course is there for you, but really we're there to kind of help each other through it. So you can charge more for it. So again, I'll give you like a really quick case study on this. Is based off of my first round that I ever did of Social Media Management Accelerator. I had over 100 people, aspiring social media managers, complete this 8-week program. I did student interviews afterwards. Also, thanks to the assistance of my then operations manager, she helped me get on Zoom calls with my students and interview them. And we came up with like a whole rubric and a whole calculation to, ask them all these different questions, which led to a 96% net promoter score, meaning that like 96% of the people we talked to said that they would recommend the course, which in my opinion is very high. And I was very happy with. I created this because I saw a gap in the market. I created this because I am largely self-taught when it comes to marketing and social media management. I went to school for film and political science. So, yeah, I had the video stuff like formally trained, but marketing, like I was just figuring it out. I was just like a MySpace kid, a LiveJournal kid who like figured it out. And I didn't see a lot of programs out there like this. I basically wanted to model a college class. I loved learning. I love learning. I still do. I'm about to go get my master's degree, just not just for fun, obviously, but like I love learning. I love that traditional classroom environment. And that's what I wanted to model SMMA after. So weekly lectures, assignments with feedback, small group mastermind, instructor office hours, assessments and quizzes, community forum, and ultimately they left with a project, a portfolio of work. Again, I did this presentation for Thinkific, so like I wanted to share some of the Thinkific specific features that helped. But you can go off of Thinkific. I do like Thinkific still. I'll leave a link to sign up for them below if you want to check it out. But like there's a lot of different tools nowadays. But live lessons, Zoom, integration with Thinkific, communities. There's a community feature on Thinkific, but you could also use a platform like School, like Slack, like Discord, assignments, quizzes, discussions. Thinkific does offer certificates, which is cool, and surveys. So I use those at the end of the course to improve it over time. So yeah, that is how to create a cohort. Basically, like in a nutshell, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today is I think, yeah, if you are selling evergreen courses, just like buy these 5 lessons and you're seeing your course sales go down, this is something that you can add to it. You don't need to start from scratch. You can offer a live version of that course that you used to offer, probably, or use it as a framework for a cohort. If you are offering evergreen courses and they're going up or they're the same as last year, probably keep doing what you're doing. I don't know. But yeah, I think if you are, somebody who is struggling a little bit and or your heart's not in it, like again, listen to the full episode by Amy Porterfield because I think, obviously, she knows her business better than I do, and this was a personal decision for her. And I spoke about this in the beginning too, about like my audience compared to maybe some of my friends' audiences who are really good at the evergreen stuff. I just I could probably reach more 101 level people and probably sell more like $10 checklists or templates or whatever. But like my heart is not in that type of content because that is not anywhere close to the season of business that I'm in. Like I'm worried about like office spaces and hiring people and, like investing my money wisely. I'm not worried like in the phase of how do I go viral on Instagram to get my first 1,000 followers anymore. Again, I want to be clear that does not make me better or worse or whatever, but we're in different places. And it's really hard for me to teach authentically about how to go viral on Instagram. That's just not where I'm at or what I'm helping my clients with or like what I can feel like I can speak to authentically anymore. Yeah. So I think if you're kind of like bored, if you're feeling a disconnect, a cohort or a membership or some type of live interaction might be a way for you to feel closer to your students again and feel like you can give them a more truly like immersive and actionable experience. Because again, I kind of like this was kind of just a line item in this presentation, but ultimately the goal of SMMA is for people to walk away with a portfolio that they can take and pitch to clients the next day. After they complete that course, they actually get something out of the course. We're not just like talking about theory, we're actually practicing things, using mock brands that they can put into that portfolio, learning different tools and testing them out. And it's actionable, right? So I think that's the big thing is figure out what the transformation is. I know that's kind of an overused word in the online course space, but figure out what transformation you want your students to have, your clients to have, and how you can get them there. I see some of my other friends, like they have writing cohorts where you join and you write your first manuscript, or maybe you just write your first chapter or make your first outline of your book, whatever that might be. Like, give something. Like, I want you to get me from A to B or C or maybe even Z. I don't know. But I think gone are the days of just like, here's like this document with a bunch of theory because ChatGPT can give that, right? ChatGPT can give that, but it cannot hold your hand and give you feedback on your chapters or feedback on your portfolio or give you mock brands to work with and so on and so forth. So that's my spiel. Those are my thoughts on where the future of online courses are headed. I will leave the episode that I referenced down below. I'll also leave a link to our sponsor, Metricool. Huge thanks to them. You can always use my code Latasha for 30 days free on any of their pro plans. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you in my next one. Bye bye.